Hello, hello. He's live. We are in somewhere in the party tree. God knows where I am. I haven't logged into this character in so long. What even has he got on his kit? What's this thing do? Reclamation. There he is. There I am. I figured we'd change it up today. Have a little bit of a Lord of the Rings-esque sort of day. I don't know. I haven't logged onto this character in so long. Hey, how's everyone doing? I think where was I? To Dunland? Cool, I don't know. I've done most of Moria, I'm pretty sure. I was going to start a new character, but the new expansion is coming out next month in like 2 weeks time, and I want to play a brawler, so we're going to play that probably a little bit on stream throughout the month of November. But hey, you know, check out my little high elf with his little shout thing. I don't know what that does. It's been a while. I haven't played LOTRO properly in about a year, but I have played a lot of Lord of the Rings Online, and I mean a lot. Yeah, this is like a whole new version of Raid Shadow Legends. Obviously, this is not going to be... I'm not expecting everyone to be like super into Lord of the Rings, but if you are, we're here. We're going to talk about Rings of Power. The finale is tomorrow. The dreadfulness of that TV show. We're going to talk about Tolkien. If you have any Tolkien questions, I'm no scholar, but I've read a few books. And yeah, we're just going to kind of hang out, play a bit of Lord of the Rings Online for a couple of hours. If you have any questions about Raid, I'll answer those as well. Yeah, this is my... When people say they played WoW, this is my WoW. I played this... I think I've got about 1,500 hours on the Steam version. That was well before it was even on Steam. Have I read the Silmarillion? I've read parts of it. I haven't read it in full. But I've read a ton of Tolkienian lore. Yes, Lord of the Rings Online is my favorite. It is the original as well. Everything is based off Tolkien. Even Harry Potter is based off Tolkien, believe it or not. It's probably not. You wouldn't want to admit it, but it probably is true. Let's head over to... What are we going to do? So we got Prengwyd, Tramdrang. Pretty sure we need to do Tramdrang. It's been a while. Where's my base set at? Dunland. Yeah, LOTRO. Yeah. Is this series a woke garbage one? Actually, it's not even about whether it's woke or not. It's just not Tolkienian. There is nothing Lord of the Rings about the Rings of Power. Nothing whatsoever. And anyone who tries to tell me otherwise is on some sort of... I don't know. Some sort of other planet. I have a raid question. I have 2 Geomancers, and I'm wondering where it would be beneficial to run a double team. You could run it in Iron Twins if you wanted to just guarantee that you keep up the 2 debuffs. You can run it pretty much anywhere you need to run lots of damage. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's anything good, but sometimes it's nice to have one dedicated for one reason and another for more generalist. Sorath, for example, it wouldn't be terrible to run 2. Bommel, it wouldn't be terrible to run 2. Which one do we want? The Rings of Power. I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to... Like, I'm really curious to see other people's opinions who aren't, like, as hardcore of a follower of Tolkienian literature. Just to see kind of, like, what their opinions are of the TV show. Because I feel like I'm so heavily biased because I have, like, this notion of what Galadriel should be. I have this kind of... bias to who Gil-galad and Elrond and all these characters should be. So when they're portrayed in this way, in a very odd way, and the way that they're displaying Gil-galad, it doesn't fit for me. It's so weird though, like War Cheddar. So, like this stream, we are going to be ranting a hell of a lot because I'll be honest. Why the hell is an elf who's over 3,000 years old, one of the most powerfulest elves, daughter of Finarfin, you know, Finarfin dueled Morgoth. Why is she taking lessons from the guy she found on the boat in the ocean about how to behave in front of the queen? This would never happen. Like, why is this a thing? Yes, she is. She's like one of the most oldest, you know, she's one of the few elves that actually saw the light of the two trees, you know? Many of the elves by sort of, technically many of the elves by the point of Elendil's time have started to be more just born in Middle-earth, not actually born in the Valar, in the Valinor. I've got a fallen injury. To Elendil would become king. Like, the biggest issue they've got at the moment is time compression. So they've put this, like, they've kind of brought all these characters together in the same setting because, you know, obviously everyone knows Elendil is the king that forms Gondor and Arnor, is the king that dies against Sauron, all these different things that we see from the films, you know, the prologue. So people know the names of Isildur, they know the names of Galadriel, and it's like we're just going to try and shoehorn these into one series. But the problem is, by the point of Elendil being like born in Númenor, the Rings of Power were forged like 1,000 years ago. So I find it funny that we've got a TV show called The Rings of Power, and nobody's actually talked about the Rings of Power. I've not even seen a single word of the Rings of Power so far in the entire show. The boat guy. Yeah, Halbrand. So here's how contrived it is. Halbrand is basically Aragorn. He is the person that becomes the wandering nomad that doesn't want the responsibility of being king, but then is forced to become king to reclaim his land and save it from falling into darkness, right? I mean, it's the same plot line, right? It's the same plot line. The only problem is, we're playing, the way they've kind of construed Rings of Power is they've made it like a Schrodinger's cat for Tolkien. It's what's in the box. Who is Sauron? Who is Halbrand? Who's the stranger? You know, where is this? Where is that? And some of these characters we already know where they're predetermined to go to. Like, we know Galadriel's going to end up in Lothlorien. We know there's no way that Celeborn is dead, because otherwise if Celeborn is dead, then, you know, Celebrian can't be born, which means Arwen can't be born, which means Aragorn doesn't get to marry Arwen. Like, there's no way we can suddenly just name drop, oh, by the way, Celeborn went missing. Like, come on. And I think the problem with Halbrand is everyone's like, oh, well, he's the king, but they've kind of got so deep into this, like, oh, we don't want to reveal too much, that we actually forgot you need to kind of give some backstory and context to Halbrand. So right now, all we know is he's the long-lost king of the Southlands who got found in a boat, but we don't really know what Adar did to him or anything. We don't know why he doesn't want to be king. We don't know why anything else. We just don't know anything. We just know he's a random dude she found in a boat that wants to stay in Númenor. The extent of his plotline. Yeah, Tony, this game is, like, I mean, this is Lord of the Rings, but WoW era. I mean, it was built and created, like, back in 2007, so you're going to see a lot of WoW-esque style. You know, plot, the way it plays, the skill, animations, and everything, but this is true to Tolkienian writings. This is accurate.
I have not seen your kind before.
I have not seen your kind before. Oh, it gets better, War Cheddar. So, I mean, this is all going to be spoiler driven. So, if you haven't watched the TV show, I might be doing spoilers. But, you know, the visualization of, like, Udun being created with the Mordor and everything else, like the volcano exploding, was pretty cool. But I really want to know, like, I know Galadriel's powerful and all, even though she struggled to take down a single lowly ice troll. But how the hell did she survive a pyroclastic cloud from a volcano? I know it's a fantasy setting, but she's looking around the town where people died from the pyroclastic cloud, yet she somehow walks away totally unharmed. Like, please explain. Who is that stranger? Considering this is a 2007 game, it looks pretty good. Like, my graphics aren't turned up fully. Yeah, I think they're... I don't actually know what they're on. I could probably turn them up more. Graphics. Oh yeah, we can go like very high. The shadows can be a bit bad for the thing. But it looks pretty good. Like, when you get it on ultra high, it looks really good.
As you do not trouble us.
Lava barrier. What books better cover this lore? So, I'm not entirely 100% sure what they have access to and what they don't. My understanding is they don't have the Third Age, so obviously that's Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and everything else. Even though the Balrog seems to make an appearance here in Moria, even though the Balrog doesn't appear until the Third Age, but, you know, we won't talk about that. And they don't seem to have access to the First Age, even though we name drop everything from the First Age. And I don't think they have access to the Silmarillion. I feel like they have access to something in between. I'm not sure exactly what they've bought. But there's reasons why we haven't had certain explanations for things, because they clearly don't have access to talk about them. But they kind of need to. Like, we had like a little homage to the Oath of Feanor in the first episode, where you saw like all the elves kind of raise their swords, but then in that same scene they had Galadriel's brother Finrod, and Finrod isn't a son of Feanor, so why is he doing the Oath of Feanor? Doesn't really make sense to me. But clearly they wanted to do like a context. They didn't really explain who Morgoth was properly. We don't really get an explanation of who the Valar are. We don't get an explanation of Valinor, why the elves can't go back. Can we do this? There we go. We don't get any of that explanation. And Sauron is like kind of shoehorned into being the big bad guy before he's actually the big bad guy. I would say though, the it visually looks amazing, right? I mean, it looks brilliant. The light of the two trees, the explosion, the battle scenes are pretty good. I can't really hate on the actual visualization of the whole show, but question even some of the whole story writing logic don't make any sense to me. But I mean, I'm pretty sure the showrunners are like pretty new. I think it's the first show they've done, so I don't really know. I don't really know why they hired someone so novice, you know, someone so green for a £1 billion program. Who knows? Yeah, it does feel like they've really focused hard on the visuals. Also, there's, you know, I watch a couple of YouTubers like Men of the West, Nerd of the Rings, and they made a pretty good point where it's not even the problem with like just following the lore. It's almost like they've decided they want a specific event to happen, but they can't like naturally get that character to that position, so then they just find a way to make it happen. You know, we need to make Galadriel find Halbarad on the boat, or Halbrand on the boat in the middle of the ocean. So we'll just make a scene where, even though everyone knows the world's turned into crap and everything's going wrong, we'll send off one of the most powerful warriors, commander of the Northern Armies, back to the Valar, because that's really that's the most sensible thing to do. Oh, but actually she's not going to go because we need her to jump off the boat. And I think that's like kind of you know, where the problem lies, where they're almost like trying to force people into the plot line to make it work.
Do not speak the names of evil things, for you will call them.
Why isn't that accepted? We're currently in the Dunland, which is actually very Welsh, believe it or not. You know, Ivor, Gito. These are all Welsh names. Caras. Do I watch Daniel Green? I don't think so. Oh no, I think lots of effort went into the show. The problem is they've hired people who are just not competent at at dealing with such a big IP. You know, if we take a look and compare it to, say, the House of Dragon, the showrunners they've got for the House of Dragon know what they're managing, and they're managing the timescales. They've able to progress the story in basically less episodes and jump more time spans and change actors multiple times, and it hasn't really diminished the actual story. It's gone quite well, right? I mean, we've jumped like 30 years in 6 episodes or 7 episodes, and it's gone okay. It doesn't feel like you're missing out or you're losing context. At times you're watching The Rings of Power and you're like, good lord, something better happen soon, because I don't know what's going on. Why have I not found... I need to go hand that in.
Many foul things dwell
Gotta
in
hunt
the
some
shadows.
things.
I fear wolves will be the least of our
I do love this game. I've played so many hours, I've done so many characters to max level, but I could just play it over and over again.
greetings.
Here we go.
Will you
Nice.
remain here long?
Okay, so we gotta go kill some game beasts and collect some kindling. Got it. Why do I like the game? I am obsessed with Lord of the Rings. And it is a brilliant retelling of Lord of the Rings. And it also is like my first ever... It's one of the few games that I got into when I was a lot younger. It's like got me into gaming. I remember staying up all night when I was like 17, waiting for Mines of Moria to release. And it is like huge. Like, I'll show you the map now, how much content. You could literally start today and still be playing this game in like, I don't know, 12 months later, and you still wouldn't be at endgame. It's so good. You know, obviously the combat is nothing like 21st century games. Like, you know, it's not like there's lots of action going on and then complicated. It's a basic system. You press skill, you do skill, right? A bit like WoW, but it's so good. Look how big this game is. It goes from Eriador, Ered Luin. We've got the Yondershire, that's been newly added. I haven't actually played this area. It's been added since I last played. We've got North Downs, Evandin, Foreshell, Angmar, Carndum, all the way over to Erin Lescalen, which is obviously Mirkwood, if you don't know. Iron Hills, we've got Erebor, Southern Mirkwood, Dol Guldur, Rohan, got Mordor, North Ithilien, Gondor, Pelennor, Minas Tirith. Like, they've literally got the entirety of Middle-earth built out in this game. It's insane how big it's become. So you start over in Eriador, and then you have a story that goes all the way south, past Isengard. I'm currently at the point where, in terms of the film, I'm currently at the point where the Two Towers is about to start, effectively. And what you don't actually play one of the main characters, you kind of play a character that works alongside the main characters, and you kind of follow the Fellowship into things. So it's not like a total rip-off or a hack or anything like that. Yeah, still supported. There's an expansion coming out on the 3rd of November, I want to say. Still supported. They still add raids. It's got a big... It's not huge. You know, it's not like massive, but it carries a very loyal and very stable player base. Do I prefer books or movies? I actually think the first trilogy will go down as one of the greatest movie trilogies of all time. And I think it's I think it's the only way you could successfully tell the story of the first books. Like the books are so hard to actually convert into a film, which is why he sold, Tolkien sold it for like £1, I think, because he believed that nobody would ever be able to make a film because of the depth, the way that it's built, the complexity of it, the way that it's even written in terms of time scales, because obviously it doesn't go linearly, it kind of jumps around a lot. But I actually think that the films were a great retelling. I know they messed some things up. Like, a lot of people will say, why did Éomer and Gandalf come and save the day at Helm's Deep? There were no elves in Helm's Deep. That was added to the film. But I think when you listen to the reason why they did it, Peter Jackson wanted them, the audience, to feel like the other races were in the fight as well. Because obviously at the same time as Helm's Deep is going on, there's attacks going on in Erebor, there's attacks going on in Lothlorien, Dol Guldur, and all these kind of things that you see in The Hobbit a little bit. So I can understand why they did that. Obviously, in the book, there's no elves in Helm's Deep. Helm's Deep is saved by Erkenbrand when Gandalf goes and collects Erkenbrand's troops and brings them back, and that's how they defeat the forces in Helm's Deep. I play on Evernight EU. I haven't played in a while. I normally go through like about a 1.5 year break, and then I come back and I'm totally addicted for like 6 months, and then I'll go on another break. I've got a lot to catch up on because I think the level cap's 140 now. This is kind of like my alt that I started playing back in the day. I'm pretty sure like my hunter's about 10 levels behind, and I've got to do all like the Gundabad storyline. Did I ever play Battle for Middle-earth 2? I do. I think I actually have the old disc somewhere in one of my drawers. Somewhere around here. Battle for Middle-earth 2. I actually quite like the Shadow of War games. Even though I know it kind of like was a bit sketchy in the lore and the way that it broke things. At least it kind of tried to like make a Tolkienian storyline happen. Like I can kind of see it. I think they made Celebrimbor a little bit too evil. And I think the whole Shelob is a woman kind of thing was a bit, played to the fans a little bit. Like the gamers, but I actually quite enjoyed that series. I thought it was very good. I know, right? I actually picked it up in like a convention somewhere, I can't remember, but I think you can actually buy like ports of that game now, so it actually still works, because I know a lot of it was kind of disconnected. I remember playing like the old Lord of the Rings Conquest game. That was fun. It just didn't really take off. It was like kind of like a battle royale style thing where you actually went into Helm's Deep and fought against orcs and things, and it was like a PvP kind of game. The biggest, this game is, old, so the biggest problem you have with it is technology is kind of hard to sustain and upgrade. It's like a 15-year-old game now. It's insane. But I've played this game ever since it came out. I remember being up farming in Anuminas and doing instances there. I've raided in Moria when we did Dar Narbogud, Osternoth. It's one of those things that you play the game again, you really kind of miss the olden days of MMO gaming. I've got a bit older now, a bit like Hellhades, like trying to play an MMO game religiously, like with all my responsibilities that I have now, is very difficult. Back when I was younger, I could literally just sit here for hours. This is the original account from day one. Yep. It's also a lifetime account, so I don't actually ever have to pay a subscription, because I paid like 160 or 170 pounds like 10 years ago. So I have basically a lifetime account. That's a better ring. That's I'll keep Meltier on. Oh, I need to get rid of some gear. I'm running out of space here. What is that? Essence? Use these essence recommended to trace. I don't know what that does. I have no idea what half this does. I know they've updated the legendary item system as well, so that does something. I should buff myself as well. Don't know why I didn't do that. Gear cleanse, yeah, I know, right?
The Technuth have been destroyed. I pray to the Ukhwirad that we will not be next.
Greetings. Will you remain here?
New World, I'm going to be playing again, actually. They've got an update coming, like, next week, I think, is it? 18th, in about 5 days' time. They've got Brimstone Sands. The only thing is I might wait until November as well, because they've got fresh start servers coming, and I haven't played since launch.
The Ukhwirad.
Like many people, I kind of like played it a bit, got really into it, and then got to like level 30, 40, started slowing down, and then the lags and the bugs and the exploits and everything else kind of lost the motivation for me. So I never got to level cap, but I know they've improved a lot of things, and they're bringing up the great sword and stuff. Have I heard of Ash's creation? Yes. That looks really good. They're actually, I think they delayed it a year because they decided to add Unreal Engine into the code. Like, they went to Unreal Engine 5, so I think that's why it's been delayed, because of that reason. But it looks really good.
The Technuth have been destroyed. I pray to the Ukhwirad that we will not be next.
Yeah, that caused a delay, which I think is fine, to be honest. If it's going to future-proof them and it's going to look better, I think it's okay to do that. So yeah, in this current thing now, we're in Dunland. Dunland is obviously under attack from Isengard. Sort of under attack. Like, eventually the Dunlendings are going to join the Isengard and fight against Rohan. We're on the path towards the Gap of Rohan, and then we'll be over into, eventually... where is it? Ravanian. We'll be joining in at Rohan. There you go. So we'll be going to the Westfold soon. Going to East Rohan, going to Edoras, and following the story there as Rohan faces the forces of Saruman. Yeah, I think as well, they probably, they had probably issues with the COVID pandemic kind of causing the development cycles to be affected, so that's not a problem for them anymore. Crabine. It's funny, I actually log into this game and, like, I'm still part of a kinship. I haven't logged on here in, like, you can see how old some of these characters are. I'm pretty sure one of my characters are probably in here. But it's crazy. People still play it, though. Still people in this kinship playing the game. Oh, have I got enough for these? Bone Vial Fingers, no. Yeah, I can do one of those. Why can't I hand that in? Deliver the bent metals to the Taskmaster. Where's the Taskmaster? Oh, I gotta go all the way to Galtrev? Oh no, mate. That's gonna take forever.
Need of help on occasion.
So I'm really nervous about the actual how much more they could possibly destroy in Rings of Power, because so far they've pretty much killed off 2 essential characters, even though they're not probably dead, because how could they be? And we got the question of who is Sauron. Everyone seems to think the big guy is like Gandalf, and I'm like, well, the wizards weren't sent till the 3rd age, so it can't be Gandalf. We got those random druid kind of things running around doing something, burning half foots or whatever they're called. That pointless plot line about the old guy. I reckon Halbrand is probably one of the Nazgul. I do not think he's Sauron. He's probably one of the Nazgul. Could even be the Witch King of Angmar. That would be a reasonable plot line for me. No, true. What I meant is he could become the Witch King of Angmar. Is what I meant. Does he receive one of the Rings of Power? Because obviously we know the Nazgul 9, one of them, a bunch of them were Númenórean. We know one of them was from Khand, one of them was from Rhûn, the southern lands. We know some of them were evil men, kings of men, but we don't know too much. We obviously know a lot more story about the Witch King of Angmar, how he became after the Nazgul when he went to Angmar and started destroying Arnor and all that kind of areas. But up until that point, there was... you know, we don't really know much heritage in terms of where they're from. Yeah, that's where he sets his residence up, but he doesn't have to necessarily come from there. We don't actually know who the Witch King was before he was the Witch King. We just know he was a man and probably a king. We know some of the Nazgul were Númenóreans, like black Númenóreans, or those who decided to turn against the Valar, not part of the faithful. But we don't actually know all of their backstories. Like, we do see in Lord of the Rings Online, the Witch King features heavily in the start of the game because of Angmar. You know, this is his realm. The Witch King of Angmar is where he holds residence. And then from Angmar, he launches an attack on Arnor. So basically, if we look at a map, what we should be seeing is down here is Gondor, Eriador, a bunch of Eriador should be Arnor, and then Lindon over here is the original Second Age Elven capital. Like, we see this in the Rings of Power, Lindon. Arnor was broken into 3 parts. We had Cardolan, Rhudaur, and I always forget the third name. And they basically, from Angmar, decided to wage war, and by destroying the capital of Fornost, is where Arnor finally collapsed. Arnor was obviously formed as the Second Kingdom. Elendil ruled both. Isildur from Gondor and Anarion, I can never remember his name, from Arnor. Yeah, that's it. So what they basically say is there's 9 kings of men. I know one of them is definitely from Rhûn. So if we look at the map here, down here, we know one of them is definitely from like Khand and Harad and Rhûn, some of them around here. We know about 4 of them are Númenóreans, but it could be plausible, whilst keeping within the lore, that the Southlands, which is Mordor, one of those kings, which could be Halbrand, could have been turned to become one of the 9, could have even be what would then become the Witch King of Angmar. He then moves up to Angmar to do his lord's bidding to basically destroy one of the kingdoms of men. Supposedly. But it's difficult because we have so much time compression. It's kind of hard to see where all of it's going to fit in, because you've got to, you know, I mean, we're basically building the forge that's going to make the rings before, whilst Isildur is already born and Elendil's already born. That happens 1,000 years ago in the books. You've got like 1,000 years to make up. Hey, Alan. We're doing a little different stream tonight. We're talking Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings. Nerding out. Whilst I figure out and remember how to play this game. It's been a while. And it's like Ar-Pharazôn, we've seen glimpses of him. I think the actor they have who plays Ar-Pharazôn is perfect, because in Númenor you can have like the Games of Thrones-y kind of feel to it, because it is a lot of moving about like different factions against each other. You have the faction of the faithful kind of led by Elendil, Isildur, who basically don't want to turn away from the ways of the old. And then you have the faction of Ar-Pharazôn, who is all like pro-man, that wants to conquer the world, gets into a situation where he wants to cheat death. You know, at some point we have to have a whole situation where Ar-Pharazôn forms the Great Fleet and goes over and saves Middle-earth from Sauron. Sauron has to launch that attack. Well, Ar-Pharazôn already looks pretty old. In the books, Ar-Pharazôn forces his way onto the throne by marrying Tar-Miriel. He usurps the throne. So you can have that kind of plotline of Games of Thrones kind of thing. But I fear, because of the way we've structured it, how do we actually fit all that into the timescales where it makes sense? You know, Ar-Pharazôn is shown to have a son. Like, how is that possible? He's meant to marry Tar-Miriel. You know, so the idea is he goes over, Sauron sees the fleet and the strength of the Númenóreans and realizes he can't win, so he bows down to Ar-Pharazôn. He's taken prisoner, and then he corrupts Númenor from within. Well, that is a hell of a lot of plot. I know they've got 8 series, but a lot of these characters are already aged a little bit. We need to see that corruption take place over time. Can't happen in 5 minutes on an episode. Yeah, I'm a nerd. I've read everything. I haven't read it all in, like, I read it in patches, so... And I think that's one of the best ways to do the non-book versions of Tolkien, because, like, I remember a lot of people were, like, all hyped because Christopher Tolkien put together The Fall of Gondolin. Everyone's like, oh, it's a new story, it's going to be amazing. And they bought the book, and they were like, why does it read like an essay? And I was like, because it's not a plot. It's an arrangement of notes and scriptures that he's collected from his father's notes and put them in some sort of time scale that makes sense. But it's not actually a written novel where you'd have an editor. Can I retake that? No. So actually, like, reading them in little bits of snippets and stuff is, I think, the best way to learn more about Tolkien and, like, the length and extent he wrote and how much he actually built that isn't written in the film. Like, people think the film is big. The whole lore is massive compared to it. It is a hard read, for sure. Because it's like notes, right? So what I tend to do is I tend to read about topics and, like, different characters and ages and periods. But I think the biggest travesty of... What's my favourite story from the First Age? It's a tough one. I am a fan of Beren and Luthien, I gotta admit. It feels like a proper Romeo and Juliet kind of thing. Yeah, and cool. I think you have to do that, right? Because you can't have pacing issues. But what they did do quite well in the film trilogy is everything felt like it was progressing naturally. It didn't feel overly slow, and it didn't feel overly quick. I don't think you can have, like, oh, well, it took them 2 months to get to there. You know, as you see, like, in one scene, it's Gandalf is leading them past the pass of Caras Galadhon, right? I think it's how's your Caras... No, it's not Caras Galadhon. That's what is it called? The Gap of Rohan, right? Not the Gap of Rohan. The mountain, basically. Is it in here? Where's me map? Dunland. Oh, I need to be in Eriador, Moria. So he tries to lead him over here, basically, the Red Horn Pass, so he can get into the Vales of Anduin and then go from there across. Obviously, there in the film, it says it will take us 40 days. Well, we can't wait 40 days for the film to progress, so you obviously got to pace it a bit better. Yes, on his tombstone, I'm pretty sure it says "Here lies Beren and here lies Luthien" on Tolkien and his wife's tombstone. But you see elements, right? So Arwen and Aragorn, it is Beren and Luthien as a retelling. You see Beren and Luthien, and they've tried to kind of do another Beren and Luthien with Arondir and Bronwyn, but it's just a little bit contrived, I'll be honest. It's okay. I don't think it's over the top, but you can see that that's what they're trying to sort of touch base in, right? They're trying to, like, touch into that story of Beren and Luthien, and it's a very, very sensitive story because of how important it is. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would say drop the gate. Anyone who doesn't watch the Lord of the Rings extended edition, you're watching it wrong. You have to watch the extended edition. I know it's long, like the last film's like 4.5 hours, but it's so worth it for the extras you get, the context, especially Aragorn's story as he goes towards the Corsairs. Again, that's like a deviation from from the books, because obviously we don't get the Grey Company in the films. We don't get Halbarad. We don't get, the banner that's handed to them from Arwen. Arwen in the books has a lot less of a role than she does in the film.
I have not seen your kind before.
You're welcome here.
What have we got
as long
here?
as you do not trouble us.
I mean, it used to be you did that. Now you have The Hobbit as well. And I actually quite like The Hobbit because I understood the problems that he faced. And I didn't blame him for it. So another problem I have with the Rings of Power, you have Elrond. Now, Elrond's brother, Elros,
Speak the names of
formed
your things,
Numenor.
for you will call them.
But we don't talk about that. So we've got this conflict in Numenor, but we haven't actually kind of laid the foundation as to why there is a conflict. We just are told there's a conflict, and that's it. But, like, Galadriel goes to Numenor, and she talks about Elros in passing. We drop the name, but we don't explain any of it. And it's actually kind of important, because you need to understand how it started Elven, or half Elven, I should say, or half men, because obviously Elros chose the path of man. And from there, became more and more men. We need that kind of context.
Evil things stare in the night.
The thing with the Hobbit book is it's actually... The hardest thing about the Hobbit book is there's lots of parts in it where the main character goes missing. And you can see they had a problem when they were making the films. It's like, okay, well, Gandalf goes missing near the trolls. Where does he go? What does he do? So I think that was the main problem with The Hobbit, is we kind of can't lose the main character in a film without having an explanation. And they needed more of a big bad guy rather than... Like, the Great Goblin, I don't think was big enough as a trilogy bad guy. Azog, for example, is not in The Hobbit at all. Neither is the Necromancer. We know this. It's pulled in from, like, extended works in Silmarillion. So none of it is wrong, at least. It's just not necessarily true to the book. I thought the Battle of the Five Armies, the battle at the end, was amazing. It was really cool to see the elves fight with all those. I think it was pretty good. Obviously, it's wrong in terms of all the different armies in a sense, but it's still okay. Yeah, exactly. It's a children's book. It's one of his first books, so you had a harder difficulty, in my opinion. But again, the thing they did right about the first trilogy is he storyboarded the whole thing before he did anything, and he had miniatures built, bigatures built, he had cameras built. Before they even started filming, they'd spent 2.5 years building the whole view, the scenes. They flew in Alan Horn, I think his name is, I forget his name. The other one as well is working on the Rings of Power. They flew concept artists in that were deep in Tolkienian concept art so they could get the right history. And I remember Peter Jackson basically, on one of the biographies, he basically told all the art department, we're not creating a fantasy film, we're creating history. You have to look at the film that we're creating as a piece of history, not a fantasy film. It had to be steeped in realism, which is why, even 20 years on, the CGI on it feels natural. The Balrog feels natural, the armies feel natural, because some of it's CGI'd, some of it isn't, but it's all steeped in, it's real. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the battles in Middle-earth are very small written. There's not, there's not many pages of the Helm's Deep battle, but obviously the Battle of Helm's Deep is the big culmination of the Two Towers films. You have to make more of it in the film than you do in the book. What else does he want? He wants a ritual horsetail. But I thought, to be fair to Peter Jackson, he was basically told last minute, hey, you're going to be the director now, because originally it was meant to be Del Toro or Gilmere or whatever his name is. And he spent 2 years on it pre-production, and then what Peter Jackson was left with was a bit of a mess. So he kind of had to pick it up, and he had to, use it different ways. He didn't have the same amount of time as he had with the original trilogy. I mean, a lot of the special effects we see in films today was invented specifically for the Lord of the Rings the original trilogy. A lot of the animation AI work that Weta Workshop do for things like Avatar, when you see all the different plants, it's all driven from an AI engine they built for the Lord of the Rings, where they wanted the CGI soldiers to have their own independent brains. So that's all AI done. It's not really done via CGI. Nobody's controlling them. They put in the parameters and they fight themselves based on what they fight. It's really, 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 really interesting. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure they storyboarded the whole thing and then they brought in lots of different like miniatures and bigatures and lots of different things with like, so he could get all the different camera angles. Then he filmed it. I mean, it was a long film. Like most films these days, they maybe spend 8 to 12 weeks in actually filming. Whereas now, when he filmed that, I think some of the actors were down there for 18 months in New Zealand. Some of them flew in a little bit, like Arwen and Eowyn had smaller roles, so they came in for a little bit, then flew off. It was a very big project. But as I said, like it stands the test of time. It has better like visuals than a lot of films these days. It doesn't feel false. It feels really real. Yeah. Yeah, I've watched it all.
Evil things stir in the night.
I mean, they built Edoras. They physically built Edoras on a mountain. You'd never see that in a film these days. They'd CGI it, but they physically went up to the mountain, and they were told that they were allowed to use the mountain, but they had to put all the greenery back the way it was before. So they actually had to preserve all the grassland because it was like heritage grassland or something, and put it back afterwards. But they physically built the Golden Hall of Edoras on top of a mountain because in the book it quite clearly states a golden hall sitting atop a mountain surrounded by white snow-topped mountains. It had to be very specific to the book, and they managed to find the one location in New Zealand that matched it perfectly. So when you see them going up and climbing up those, that's actually a building they physically built. It's insane. What is the legendary item reward track? Gundabad allegiance is available. I don't know what any of that means. Legendary items. Wallet. Reward track. What's this? Earn legendary item XP to help advance the track and rewards in it. Okay. Don't actually know what that does. But hey, I guess it's oh, legendary coffer of the painted steel. Okay, I have no idea any of that does at all. Run out of storage though. Okay. Yeah, well, they invented a special type of chainmail for it to make it lighter. I remember them actually, like, I think they made like a realistic chainmail, but it was like polystyrene rather than raw metal, so it was lighter for them to actually wear it. And they made thousands and thousands of chain links. So, you know, when you see the Battle of the Army where you actually got those soldiers in, like, they're not wearing CGI. It's not like green screen stuff. It's full on, you know, they brought in armorers, they brought in people to make these things. I mean, they built the Forest of Fangorn inside a theatre, like a big room, and they actually brought in like gardeners and proper people who like maintain forests and trees to actually build a realistic thing and then put some camera through it. Obviously, it's not the whole forest, and they use different techniques. Like some places, they'd have an artist paint the background. So when you see the hobbits going into the town of Bree, the gate is realistic. That's been built. But when you go into that backdrop where you see all of Bree, that's actually art. Someone's painted that and they've overlaid it onto the film. It's actually really clever. It doesn't look like it is, but it's just art. It's like a big canvas painting that someone did as part of the art team. fighting nasty Dunlendings who've allied themselves with Sauron, the Betrayer. I have to say though, in the first episode, I did find it a bit strange that Galadriel goes hunting in the north. Fine. Awesome. Then they come across a snow troll, and she's with, like, her army, or, like, her best soldiers of her army, and, like, they're getting bashed against a wall by a snow troll. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure these are the elves that kind of fought, like, Balrogs and, you know, thousands of orcs in the War of Wrath. Yet they're getting beaten up by a random ice troll. The hell? Don't make any sense to me. You know, these are meant to be some of the strongest elves in Middle-earth. Pretty sure I'm in the right place. Am I? Maybe I'm not. Uh-oh, run out of storage. You hear muffled voices coming from the west bank. Alright. You know what I mean, though? Like, Galadriel's father, Finarfin, literally 1v1'd Morgoth. Valar. Yet they can't, like, beat up an ice troll. I don't know. I was just, like, baffled by it. And it's like they travel all that distance. They finally find the mark of Sauron. And then it's like, oh, no, we're going to give that up now. Okay. Oh, have you actually seen the interviews, though, Shaq? They are doubling down on this. They basically said, when they were asked something like, I can't remember what it was. They were answering critics about, like, the visuals or something. And they were like, oh, Tolkien didn't write that, so how would anyone else know? And I'm like, how snobbish do you need to be to have that attitude? They literally think, they're trying to basically say that all of this is in homage of Tolkien. I'm like, he would be, like, literally crawling in his grave if you did some of the things you chose to do. Do you have the History of Middle-earth series? Which one's that? Yeah, I've kind of like, I'm so obsessed with Lord of the Rings that I can't help but not watch it, but at the same time, like, some things they do are okay. I actually thought the whole, like, episode 6 is alright. I thought the battle scenes were pretty cool. It did shock me that all of a sudden the Númenóreans had turned up, but, you know. I would say as well, another issue I have with the Rings of Power is it feels quite small. You know, Númenor is meant to be like this vast island of power or strength, and yet they set sail with 3 piddly little boats and 50 men or something. You know, and they're going to save the Southlands, and the Southlands is basically a village. Like, a single village of, like, 12 people. And that's, like, the entity that they're trying to save of the whole Southlands. And I'm like, it feels like it needs to be bigger somewhere. Like, you need to have, like, some way of explaining that there's more people to protect. You know, when we saw the Ride of the Rohirrim in the original films, you saw 6,000 horses on screen. When you saw the Orc army, you know, forming up against Minas Tirith, it was huge, right? The armies of Gondor lined up against the wall. It felt big. Whereas in the Rings of Power, it's like, oh, we're saving a little town and we're doing X, Y, Z. And it's like, but it doesn't make any sense. I think that's it's actually one of the things I started this stream with. I'm really interested to know how people who watch it without my kind of dedication or addiction to the whole lore feel about it. Whether or not it's just a case that because it's not, like, true to what I expect, I've got an internal bias, or whether it is actually just not that good. I know a lot of people have said they found some of it a little bit boring. Like that it was a bit too slow versus something like House of Dragon. Because obviously it's naturally going to get compared to House of Dragon because it's on at the same time. Not that they're in any way the same show, but it's obviously going to be compared that way. But there are like significant non-lore issues. So for example, after the volcano happens, we know just as the volcano erupts, everyone is in the town. And we know the town is not that big. There's like 8 huts or 7 huts, right? Yet somehow Galadriel manages to find the one guy, Theo, and then they, for some reason, can't like join the rest of the people, and then they have to go on their own little adventure, so that it creates a space for Galadriel to open up, all of a sudden to drop the fact that, oh, actually, she was married, but she lost her husband somewhere. She never saw him again. I'm like, what? Like, why did we send... That's such a random thing to suddenly just drop into a conversation. And it's like, oh, we ignored all the other people that were buried in the town, but I found the kid, and I'm going to take the kid on a different road, not where all the other Númenóreans seem to have matched up, and then we eventually get back to the same place. And I'm just sitting there thinking... But you were in the same place. But clearly, again, is what I was saying. They wanted a situation in which Galadriel could open up and show a different side to her. It's almost like they brought her to the brink when she was talking to Adar about turning to the darkness, trying to touch back on that thing from the first episode where Finrod said you need to peer into the darkness to see the light and all that kind of stuff. But we needed to create a space for her to be able to have that conversation. Okay, how do we do that? Oh, let's just do it this way. And even though that doesn't make any sense. Well, it kills none of the main characters, but it kills some other people. Magically. I will say the volcano scene was all really cool. I have no problem with that at all. I thought that was awesome. And the backstory of Adar is sort of befitting with the lore. Obviously, we know that Morgoth took some elves and corrupted them, and that was what the first orcs were. So it makes sense that's why he's called Adar, which is translation for father or old father or something of that nature. So that kind of, like, I have no problem with that. That's very lore fitting for me. It would be nice to understand how the whole Halbrand and Adar thing works in more detail, rather than just a random thing of, what did I do to you? Yeah, there's a tempest in her, right?
As long as the sun shines, you are welcome here.
I actually thought that the fact they did it on the Second Age was a good opportunity, because they had flexibility. In the sense that they weren't, like, if you try to do a TV show on the Lord of the Rings film, you kind of are stuck into a specific plot line, right? You have to follow it in a certain order. Certain characters have to be in certain places at a certain time. You don't have a lot of flexibility. Whereas in the Second Age, we know obviously how it starts and how it ends, but really the rest in the middle, there's a lot of opportunities to create Tolkien-based stories that wouldn't break the law, that would be perfectly fitting. As long as you don't do anything, like, horrific, then you're okay. But it seems to be like they chose the path of horrific, for a better word. How do I like the show? Not good. So the positives to me is it looks Tolkienian. It looks like Lord of the Rings. It feels and looks like Lord of the Rings. The character of Galadriel just doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like I really enjoy Elrond and Durin. I enjoy that conversation. Like the way that the pairings are, the forming of the two races, the way that they are kind of talking and the way that they're acting. I have no idea who came up with the idea that Mithril was going to save the life of the elves. Like, Good lord. How stupid is that plotline? Like, Mithril... So the story in the thing is, like, Mithril was formed because I would imagine the elf they're talking about is Glorfindel. Fought a Balrog, and the fight meant that they hit a tree, and then all of a sudden the mountain became and took the Mithril, and Mithril was formed from Silmarils. The problem is, by the end of the first stage, I'm pretty sure all the Silmarils are gone. So, you know, Eärendil takes one of the Silmarils, one of the other ones is in the ocean, and I think the other one is gone somewhere. I don't really think the third one is confirmed to be gone, but I'm pretty sure it is. So again, I'm sitting there with this concept of why are they talking about a Silmaril in the tree making Mithril trying to save the lives of the elves? That is so that's just so dumb. It doesn't make any sense. Ooh, look at these, lots of quests.
I have a tale to tell. Even the Uchluth have need of help.
Take all these.
Hear me out, Devonian, for I have a tale to
And I think some people, when they talked about that, were like, oh, well, maybe it's just Sauron the Deceiver. You know, Sauron's tricking the elves into thinking that Mithril is the answer. That could have worked. But then they doubled down on it, and it was like, oh, look how the Mithril magically saved the leaf that was being poisoned. And I'm like, really? Are we actually going to go with magical rocks as a plot line? And if we think how dwarves and elves are explained by Tolkien and how he characterizes both of these. Oh, Lord above, look at all these. I need to empty something. What's that giving me? Take that. Ooch. Gives me a quest item. Destroy. 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 Ay vey, I picked up a lot of daggers in my time. But if we think how the elves and the dwarves are described by Tolkien, he pretty much describes the dwarves as greedy, as very great craftsmen of deep halls, but they have a habit of delving too deep, they have a habit of going too far, and they have a habit of being greedy at the extent of their own kind of what they believe is right or wrong.
Why are you bothering me?
So the elves are then explained as like wise and knowledgeable, lacking emotion. You know, they make reasoned choices and decisions. They can be spiteful. Obviously, we know the Oath of Fëanor leads to some pretty horrific crimes against their own race. But generally speaking, they are considered to be wise and sensible, and they know what they're doing. And in the Rings of Power, the dwarf is the one that's like, oh, no, we can't delve too deep. And the elf is like, no, keep going, keep delving. We need it. We're greedy. And like, oh, we got an oath break. Like, did they not read the First Age? Did they not understand how awful breaking an oath was to Tolkien? How pretty much the crime of oath breaking carries the highest sentence in any of the books or the films or the writings. See you, Alan. Thanks for hanging out. I know, right? So the whole thing is, the reason why Moria fell was because they mined too deep for Mithril, because Mithril was really valuable, and they got greedy. Yet here, we're seeing the Dwarf King going, oh, no, we can't do that. That's too dangerous. Yet the elf wants to go, yeah, let's go crazy. What? Why are we flipping the roles of the races? Doesn't make any sense to me. Like, that's completely the wrong way around. I think I need to burn something else here. Is it this hut over here? Yeah. Where else do I need to burn? I think I need to burn those up there. But the crime of oath breaking, when we think in the Lord of the Rings, obviously the men of the hills were made an oath at the Stone of Erech to Isildur, that when Isildur called them, they would fight beside Gondor, and they didn't. The punishment they had was never-ending life in the form of an undead body until they held their oaths fulfilled. The Oath of Fëanor, where the Sons of Fëanor vow to no matter what, reclaim the Silmarils, and anyone who was in their way would be taken and killed. They killed their own kind for the sake of that oath. They wouldn't break the oath. So for Gil-galad to go to Elrond on the side, do you know what? We're all kind of in a bit of a trouble. The leaves are looking a bit, a bit gross. Let's go break the oath you just made. What's the worst that could happen? The High King of the Elves is saying that. The wisest of all elves. One of the most powerful elves of all time. What? What? Like, what? I'm like, no. Stop, please. You're hurting my brain. But I do actually like the interactions between Elrond and Durin. I think actually that's the most Tolkienian of the whole thing. The way that they, create a bond, they're upset to begin with. The way the elf couldn't realize that time has been passing. That's a common trope within the Tolkienian writings. That, the lifelessness of the elf is taken for granted by themselves, but other races notice it. And the way that Durin opens up, I think actually Disa adds a lot of value. A lot of people are like, oh my god, they've added a woman dwarf. I think she adds a lot of value. I think she's really good. Yeah, that's the only problem. I get a bit carried away. I should really stick to some of the positives as well. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that didn't technically happen the way it did in the film, Alan, because technically in the books, they use the army of the dead to defeat the Corsairs as they're invading Pelagia, not when they're invading Minas Tirith. It's a bit of a naughty thing by Peter Jackson, but he didn't really want to have any of the Pelagias. He didn't want to have Prince Imrahil and all the Gondorians that come from Pelagia. He didn't want to have the Grey Company, so I guess he had to kind of make that link and just delete the whole section there. I actually don't know what I need to be killing here. I'm just randomly killing stuff. What do we got? Scouts. I need to be questioning looters, apparently. Let's speed it up. Woohoo! Do I have a recommendation for a good series? Oof. I think The Boys is very good. If you like black comedy. I think it's very good. House of Dragon, I think, is also quite good, although I'm a bit behind. I haven't watched it all. There's a lot of noise about the guy who plays Viserys at the moment getting an Emmy for his performance in the last episode. I haven't seen it, though.
What do you need?
Yeah, absolutely. He's so good as... oh, what's his face? I forget his name. He's so good in The Boys.
What is this world coming to?
Yeah, it's very, like, some people would be a little bit, like, offended by some of the stuff, I would say. It's not for everyone. But I like how it, like, contrasts with Marvel films and Marvel TV shows, how it takes, like, the mick out of it quite a lot. I've got no space here. We need to sell some things. What are we going to sell? Oh, what have we got here? Map to breed. I want that. Map to the party tree. I don't want that. Okay. Any of these things good? Don't look like it.
You're welcome here, as long as you do not trouble.
See you, Adrian. I am actually rewatching True Blood at the moment. Because I never quite finished the series. True Blood's a bit like Boys, I guess. Very, like, it's not for everyone, but I actually think it's quite cool. It would be actually an interesting... I'd love to see the fan reaction if we did, like, a poll between what was worse, Rings of Power Season 1 or Game of Thrones Season 8? I feel like it would be the best way to, like, bait a bunch of people. Hey, Turbo. I know, right? Cool. Just imagine, like, the poll. It could be like, you know, it could be like what you see on those, like, change.org things, like when people get really upset about something. It's like, rewrite the show. Imagine that poll. It could be amazing. Don't we just love with Season 8 how we spent 8 seasons building up this whole big Game of Thrones? Is Daenerys going to finally do it? And they choose the cripple who isn't even in a whole series to be king. Like, really? I know you can never make everyone happy, but good lord. Whoever came up with that in the writing room needs to be, like, fired. I need traps. Yeah, I know, right? It seems like they went out their way. Thanks, Turbo. I was a bit worried about that video, to be honest, because I didn't want it to come out like I was, like, I don't know, really, like, having a go at Plarium. But I sat there and I was like, if you're going to do a video on buffs and debuffs, and then you have, like, a massive glaring error where it's, like, it's just totally the wrong number, like, that's really bad, right? I mean, you can explain something, or you can have, like, you know, bad explanations for things. But at the very minimum, make sure the information you put in your videos is accurate. At the very minimum, it is correct. If I put that in the video, I'd get absolutely slaughtered. I'd get comments all over the sun. I'd get, you know, other creators saying I was totally wrong, and I shouldn't be putting information out there that's incorrect. I've had it in the past where I've put information out there and I messed up a math number or something, and I've had people literally say to me, you know, you need to take that video down, it's inaccurate. Melissa, are you talking about Jon Snow? Not Jon Snow. Robb Stark. There was lots of kings in the north. Wait, are we saying that Lord of the Rings sucks because it's conflicting with the plot's reference from the original series, or it just sucks? I don't know, Elliot. So for me personally, it kind of sucks because they haven't stuck true to the thing. But also I think like it just kind of like some of it just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't like the plot lines don't make any sense. The way that they're putting characters together don't make any sense. And I think it's twofold. But I said I'm interested to see what other people say who aren't as like heavily invested in the Tolkien lore that I am. You know, someone who's watched the films and maybe seen the Hobbit films. That's the kind of audience I'm interested to see whether they like it or not, because they have a little bit of grounding in Lord of the Rings, but they're not necessarily like an avid fan like I am, where I know everything and every kind of background that I can possibly want to know and absorb everything. They must have Jesper. I think they must have just copy pasted it. But like, you know, in those types of videos, you want to explain to people like, oh, by the way, this adds the value, or this multiplies the value, or this is multiply. You've got to explain the differences so that people understand the impact. Because otherwise, it makes my job harder as a content creator, because I have to not only explain the issue, but also explain why they were wrong. And people have already determined the way that it should work, and then they realize it's not. Then they get upset because of something else. I mean, I've had people actually direct messaged me saying they're really upset because the website had one error on a mastery and they had to redo their entire masteries and everything because they were upset about it. You know, and I can understand. Obviously, mistakes will happen. We don't want mistakes on the website, but it's when you've got 700 champions in different mastery sets, you're going to have the odd error. But, you know, if you're going to make a video about it and you're going to put that video out there and you're going to actually, like, put it on the screen, make sure it's right before you do it. Quality control it. How many episodes is in the series? In Rings of Power, the last one is tomorrow and it's 8 episodes. House of Dragon is 10. This is a bit longer. As I said earlier, I think visually it looks really good. I've enjoyed like seeing the two trees and seeing Mordor being created. I do think it's kind of bizarre that we have more empathy towards the orcs than we do have towards like the elves or the men. Like, you know, I've had more empathy towards the orcs trying to find a home than I do for the actual like characters. Like, I don't really understand why Galadriel hates the orcs so much, and why would Galadriel have that much hate? She doesn't have hate. She's never characterized as hate. She's one that's characterized above hate. Do I want this? Do I want this? Just go with that. I haven't got any space. I need to sell gear. I need to find a merchant when I get back. Someone's attacking me. I haven't seen Andor. I looked at the trailer zone. It looks really good. It looks the most Star Wars-y TV series I've seen. I haven't seen... But then again, I suppose I haven't seen Book of Boba Fett and I haven't seen all the other stuff, so maybe I'm... hard for me to judge. But it feels a bit like a proper Star Wars show. We're gonna ride back. But yeah, I need to watch Andor. Have they released all the episodes, Profound? Is it like a partial release thing, or they have they released it all in one go? Because I'll be honest, I stopped watching She-Hulk because I had to keep waiting for an episode, and that just really annoys me. 100%, Elliot. 100%. And if you actually read the writings, the orcs aren't meant to be empathetic. You're not meant to be empathizing with the orcs. They're meant to be bad. You do have some empathy towards the original orcs, like Adar, because obviously he was forced and mistreated and everything. So you shouldn't hate them, but they shouldn't be the ones in which you're like kind of going, oh, I hope they find a place in the world. Oh, I feel a bit sorry for them. Meanwhile, I'm looking at Galadriel and I'm like, I don't like this character. She's nasty. She's mean. She's angry. She's rageful. That's not the Galadriel that I remember. Episode 6, right. There's 24 in total, isn't it? Because there's 2 series they're going to do of Andor. The first one's 12 and the second one's 12. So I guess it's halfway through at the moment.
You are ill-equipped to venture into these lands.
Alright, let's sell some things. Let's sell that. Sell that. That. Let's sell that. Here, fast rejoice. I can go. Get rid of that, that. And let's do this. And we need to open these. Oh, we might as well eat that as well. Already known, already known. Already known. Already known. Okay, so we can just sell. There we go. Bag space. I've got some more crap in here. Yeah, the thing is, though, they didn't have the rights to the Silmarillion. I'm pretty sure they don't have access to it. But then again, in places they're referencing things from the Silmarillion, so I don't really know what they've got rights to, but I know for a fact they don't actually have rights to the book Silmarillion or the First Age. Let's jump off the horse. Another good series that I'm looking forward to is The Witcher Season 3. I thought Witcher Season 2 was really, really good. I think they're filming that, or they've just finished filming it now. I think we're getting that next year. Friend to the Dunlendings. Oh, look, I got some points. What do I want to put this in? We'll do that. Traits. Should I be leveling up here? Fidelity. Mercy, patience, they're all on 33 out of 34. Let's level up some wit.
The old woman of the mountain says we should not trust Vodiot.
No, I haven't watched the animated one. I know the Blood Origins, I can never say that word, is coming out soon, right? The prequel. That looks interesting. I actually think right now Henry Cavill is right in there for a shout to be the next James Bond. I think he'd be brilliant at it.
Greetings. Will you remain here long? Even
What are we doing then? Destroy buckets of water.
It is not
We're taking back the watchtower from the evil Dunlendings.
to me.
Up to my elf. Hey Steve, yeah, we're doing a bit of different. In honor of the finale of Rings of Power, I say honor. I know many Lord of the Rings fans hope it'll never come back for season 2. But in honor of the Rings of Power, I thought it'd be kind of cool to have a bit of a chill stream, talk about Rings of Power, play a bit of Lord of the Rings online. I don't get an awful lot of time these days to play some MMO games, and I've had an urge to play it. But if you have any sort of raid questions or raid topics, you can talk about it as well. It's fine. We're not. It's not an or, you know, nothing other than Lord of the Rings. It can be anything. Yeah, I think he would have been if it was like, I don't know, 10 years ago. Cool. I think he's got a bit old for it now. Like, in terms of his career, I just think he's kind of gone past where he would want to be. So I think it should be Henry Cavill, I think, personally. I know there's talks that they were going to do, like, maybe that guy from, oh, what was that period Netflix show? Bridgerton, Reggie someone, I can never remember his name. He's in for a shout as well, but I feel like he's only done like one TV show. I don't know whether you can give him something as big as Bond. The other one I think that could be quite good was Bard the Bowman. The guy who played that, what's his name? I can never remember his name either, but the guy who played Bard the Bowman in The Hobbit, I reckon he could do it. I think he played the guy from one of the characters in Beauty and the Beast as well. one of the silly characters, so I think he's probably a good shout. Tom Hardy's too gruff for it, isn't he? Like, I think Bond needs to be a little bit more like clean cut, whereas I think Hardy, now that I've seen him in like Bane, he's just a little bit evil. I think he's a bit too evil for James Bond. Luke Evans, that's the guy I was thinking of, yeah. I think Luke Evans is a real shout for it as well. Because he's got that charisma about him that you need for James Bond.
Requires us to give welcome to the Duvorian.
Yeah, Henry Cavill can be unpolished though. Have you seen him in have you seen the film Night Stalker? Is it Night Stalker or Night Hunter? It's a dark film. It's a bit like Seven in the sense. It's about some like weird creep or something that kills loads of people. But he's a bit gruff in that one, Henry Cavill, and he's really good.
You're welcome here, as long as you don't trouble us. Hear me out, Duvorian, for I have a tale to tell.
What do I need to do? I think I have to knock on the door. Knock, knock. Who's there? Who else is attacking me here? We have reclaimed the tower. So is anyone else actually here? I know it's about 30, 40 of you, not many raid players in. Anyone actually going for the fusion? I seem to be like, everyone I've asked about this, I'm the only one that seems to be going for the fusion. I feel like I might be like the only person holding Marinix by the end. Oh good, there are some people then, that's cool. You'd be happy to know I will be doing a video on her. I'm going to see how much damage I can do with the A1 in Clan Boss. That'll be fun. It was actually disappointing. I had in the market today, I had a 2-star Lord Shazar, which would have been 500 more attack, but I needed like 40 essence and I had like 3. Steve, are you pulling shards tomorrow? Because if you're pulling ancient shards tomorrow, there's a potential chance you might pull some of the rares from there. Oh, what do I have to do here? Tomoa. Ooh, nice. Of course, Nubkex has a 6-star Lord Shazar. Damn him. I've gone hardcore. I've actually got all of the rares, and I've also got the duplicate epic from Summon Rush, so I kept the epic because I want to do some clever speedruns. I want to see if I can make like a Shadowkin only clan boss 1-key Ultra Nightmare. I think that'd be quite interesting to see. What do I have to do here? Look. Oh, I got spotted. That's a bit of a problem, isn't it? Oh yeah, that is. How do your clan do? So we've been doing a bit of a strategy lately where we kind of tank personal, non-personal clan versus clans, so that we get a better placement on personal. So we actually lost on purpose because we want to get a better placement for a personal clan. There we go. So we lost. We did like we told everyone in the clan, limit yourself to 185,000 points, even though we knew we could do more. It did. Cool, you're right. Like the biggest thing that personal broke was for me the clan gold to start with. Not the clan gold, sorry, the clan XP. Personal rewards gives you so much clan XP, it's unreal. So really winning the personal is so important because of the amount of clan XP you get. That obviously unlocks your higher rewards, gets you legendary books and different things. But also, it's just so much more valuable. Now that you've got other effects in the game, reaction's not as impactful, in my opinion, as the other stuff. So you get, like, books, you get, like, shards, you get loads of energy. Like, it's so good.
Pray to the Urkwirad that we will not be next. Many foul things dwell in the shadows. I fear wolves.
You need to look to move up, Steve. There's loads of clan clusters out there. Some of them have various degrees of like levels. Like so for example, in my clan, I'm in Sons of Cyan. We have like a big clan, Sons of Cyan 1, that's got all the big whales in it. My clan that I'm in, Sons of Cyan 6, we have people that do around about 250, 300,000 points on a clan versus clan. Some of them go really high. Then we have a lesser clan, and then we have a bunch of non-clan versus clans as well. So clusters are a good one to get into because it helps you progress. You know, you can move up as you go. Is the ease to Manita, is it worth using Fury set, and is it good to stack Phantom Touch? Fury set is very good in Manita comps. It's basically a weaken for your team. As long as you can make sure you can keep it active. So if you're using Life Drinker to get the counter attack, you've got to be a bit careful, right? Because you need to be under half health to get maximum value, so you don't want to be like messing around too much. But if you can get good Fury gear, Fury is 25% more damage. It's probably better than Lethal for sure. It's better than any other set. In block damage, Retaliation would be the one you'd want to go for. Or if your team can support it, Relentless. But most speed teams cannot support Relentless. Yeah, do you know what? I think I don't like the fact you have to win to get personal rewards. I am all for personal rewards being if you get more points, you get your own personal rewards, right? But the fact you have to win it just creates like a bit of a FOMO effect, a bit of a like, oh, I've got to really grind hard. I just don't like that part. But I like the fact that if I, in my clan, decide to pump an extra 100,000 points versus someone else, that I get more than what everyone else gets. Because before they had personal, it could be like you did like 300,000 and then someone who did 20,000 basically got all the same rewards as you. It was a bit unfair. I like the fact they've changed that. I just don't like the fact you have to win. What do you think about the Wraith Infusion? Seems good for secret rooms. I actually think he's quite good for twins. Toja. I actually think that's what he's been designed for, is the Iron Twins. Increase accuracy into decrease speed. So I think he's really good for that. Hits really hard as well, to be fair. So for secret rooms, it'd be quite good. Yeah, it is. But if you think about it, all I have to do is contribute 1,000 points, right? And then if my clan hits tier 6, I get the same rewards as whether someone has done 300,000 points. Yes, a clan can demand that some players do it, and if not, they don't get to participate. You know, you kick them out of the clan. But it was very much a system of... you had this problem where if someone was not doing their part, then they would still get the same amount of rewards. So as a model, I like the fact that if I decide to commit more points out of my own resources, I get better rewards for my contribution, like a scalable system. I just don't like the fact it's all tied to, oh, you have to win. If you don't win, you get nothing. I don't like this all or nothing mentality. I feel like if you're taking part, you should still get something. Like, I don't like the fact you can 3-0. I feel like it should be 2-1, 3-1, or 4-0. Not like, you know, the points boundaries between 3-0 and 2-1ing is actually not that far away, but the point boundary between 4-0 and 3-0 is much bigger. Really, Steve? I mean, the only thing I would say about Hydra level 1, like normal now, is actually quite easy if you have some well-built damage nukers. I literally just run 5 DPS champions and just kill a head and then abuse it. Like, it's much easier now that they've nerfed normal. And you get a lot of rewards from normal. It's well worth doing normal, even if you throw 3 keys in with just random champions and get yourself to 6.6 million. It's quite a low bar for the top chest. Like, soul stones alone, you get quite a lot from normal. We are fighting the Dragon Clan. Yeah, if you've outgrown your clan, it's always a good idea to move clans. And if you want to progress in certain areas or push areas, you just got to make the move. Like, I used to be in a clan with Hellhades and a bunch of other people I knew. And they all kind of lost a little bit of interest in the game, and they weren't willing to... You know, they weren't up for putting as much time into, like, clan versus clan, Hydra, and different areas of the game. I was still very much into the game. I needed it for content, so I had to make the move, you know, and I knew them quite well. But it's for the better, because now I'm in a clan that's actually got like-minded competitive people. I need to turn the music down in this area. It's like super loud. Audio. It's very dramatic music. But once you move the clan, you find the right home. If you find a cluster, they'll help you progress, because you start off at a sort of in a clan that's for your level, and then you basically can move up as you get further into the game. You get more champions, you get more time or whatever, or not, you know, it fits better. If I can pull a Narma and whatever her name is, Narma, or I can get Archbishop, I will do I'll do every affinity of the twins, but at the moment I tend to skip Spirit, because he tends to annihilate my Force team, thanks to Mithrala. Here you go, look, I'm bringing 2 people together. What cluster are you part of, Cool? I seem to have picked up a bit of a retinue of people here. Oh, do I need to be... I feel like I'm in the wrong place. That's true, Steve. I should probably do lower levels. I just kind of forget. I might do it after this stream. Just quickly go in and do a low level so it's easily done. Void is so much better. I don't know why we can't have void rates on every single affinity. Like, why can't we? Yeah, I hate Spirit too. Ah, cool. Night Watch. Cool. Oh, really? That's not true, Defiance. That can't be true. How does he do that? Like, I tell you what, it baffles me the amount of people that go, oh yeah, I'm doing like stage 25 dungeons, but I'm still on Nightmare Clan Boss. I'm like, why? Nightmare Clan Boss is like... Clan Boss is so important. It's like the first thing anyone should ever do on an account. It's like the number one. Number one thing you should do. No. Yes, but I did test it. I tested it. It 100% works if you're in the like threshold and you haven't killed the clan boss. The moment the clan boss goes to 0 HP, it doesn't work anymore. It's conditioned on the fact that it needs to be more than 1%, but less than the top end.
Do not speak the names of evil things, for you will call them.
I'm also probably sure the clan boss will cap Soul Reap to 75,000 because it's enemy max HP, and bosses will reduce that because the Soul Reap condition for bosses is different from champions. The text where it says it doesn't get reduced by multiplication effects only applies to champions. So champions like Hydra, because Soul Reap is coded as an AoE ability, it reduces the damage by the AoE passives. Hence why when you one-shot in Hydra, it doesn't one-shot the boss because it's not reducing that. It's a boss. I don't know why they've done that, but they have. That was their decision. Come on then, Gito. Let's go. Someone approaches. Yeah, clan boss is the most important area of the game. Whenever I speak to anyone who's in the early game, I've been speaking to my brother about it. Like, we've been trying to basically figure out a clan boss team for him. Getting a clan boss team into Ultra Nightmare as quickly as possible gives you access to shards. Shards gives you access to champions and summon rush events, which gives you access to fusions and everything else. It's so important. Ultra Nightmare clan boss. It's actually not a big an account check as you need. It's more role check. Is Phantom Touch better than Brimstone 4? See, sort of. There's a break point. Depending on the team you're doing, right? So if you're doing a traditional team, then Brimstone has no cap in the sense because it can go on forever. However, in an unkillable team, you're only going to be lasting for 50 turns. It can only activate on the A2 and A3, so therefore you only get about 33 Brimstone procs. And those 33 Brimstone procs will be around about 8.33 million. So if you run a 3-1 champion with a 6-star Phantom Touch, and that 3-1 champion has more than 5,800 attack, then Phantom Touch beats Brimstone. But in 9 times out of situation, you're probably going to want Brimstone in your clan boss team, because most of the time it's going to be. But there is a certain point... there is a certain point where Phantom Touch can overcome Brimstone. It just requires a 3-1. Like, so for example, in Gintoro comp, where Gintoro is running at 3-1, if you get him to 5,800 attack, he's better to run Phantom Touch if you have him at a higher awakening. Yeah, Jess, but I think it's a valid point. I think the rewards before Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare are so trash. It's people think, oh, clan boss is not important, but then when you get to Ultra Nightmare, Nightmare, it's like that's how people go, oh, how the hell have you got like so many sacreds and so many this? It's like, because I just run Ultra Nightmare clan boss every day. And like people say, oh, I always need legendary books, and I'm like, I don't really feel like I ever need a legendary book because I just run out Ultra Nightmare clan boss every day, and I get them. But yeah, in terms of Ultra Nightmare, like a lot of early accounts, it's not a gear check per se, it's a role check. Do I have a decreased attack champion? Do I have a good ally protector? Do I have a good poisoner? And do I have a decreased defense champion? If I have those 4, I can make an Ultra Nightmare clan boss team, even if it's a 4 key at early game, because I've got the right roles. I just need to get the right tune together, the right speeds, and off we go. The biggest problem is if you don't have the ally protector, then it becomes a lot harder. Ally protection in the early game is insanely powerful. I have Eris and Annex with Phantom Touch and Seeker with the epic defense one. Are you talking cruelty for Seeker? Yeah, I'd put Brimstone on Fushan. Absolutely. Blessings have made clan boss so much easier now. So much easier. Like, it's ballooned my damage in clan boss. Yeah, Melissa, that's a good spread. Eris makes sense because she attacks a lot. Annex makes sense because he's a DPS. Seeker will ramp up cruelty really quickly. Brimstone seems like a viable option for Fushan because he's probably not going to attack enough to make Phantom Touch worth it. Do you think Blessings can add 50 million Ultimate Nightmare Clan boss for a except 1 week Affinity team? Well, my team has gone from 126 million to 170 million with Blessings. Or 160 million, I should say. So, as a context. Obviously, it scales because I'm quite endgame, but yes, they can. Oh, are we done? We're done. There you go, look. We've finished the first area here. That's pretty cool. Let's head over to Galtrev. Hello, do you think your placement in damage against Clamorous helps your team drop? No. That came from a misunderstanding of how the static data is structured. So in the static data, the way that they construct the chest boundaries, like how much HP you need to defeat on a boss for HP, they had like the 4 arrays. People thought that meant if you're in like the top 4, top 3 results, you get better odds. That's not the case. There's no difference if you finish like position 30 in your clan or position 2 in your clan. You don't get any more rewards if you double the max chest or half the max chest. As long as you hit the chest, you're going to get the same odds. The difficulty is obviously the way that the clan boss chests get rolled. There's so much variation possible that, you know, you need probably like 10,000 chests to assess whether or not you're actually hitting the averages before you can say it's not hitting the averages. So if you are having a bad run of luck, that's probably just why. But there is no truth to, oh, I finished the top damage dealer in my team, I get better rewards. That doesn't happen. You should just do Hydra normal, Jesper. You get some shards there. If you do Hydra normal or Hydra hard, you'll get the same amount of soul stones as if you're doing Iron Twins every single day. Right now I'm looking at Deacon, Jarek, Anax, and the other 2 slots I was thinking of Ninja and maybe Sandlashed. So Deacon is your decreased defense and leech. Jarek, I guess, is your decreased attack. Anax is poison, decreased defense. Ninja is damage. You probably actually want an ally protector with or an extender there, because Jarek's not going to be able to maintain ally protection if you're going to go that route. Sandlash is a good emergency ally protector. Actually, no, it's okay. Yeah, Sandlash extends buffs. Actually, yeah, it's a good balance. Ignore what I was saying. I think that's a good balance. Which blessing should you use for Demitha? So I've personally gone Aura because I'm using an attack Aura. But you could easily go Phantom Touch as well. It's totally up to you. She doesn't attack an awful lot, which is why I kind of went with the Aura. But she does do a fair amount of damage even if she only attacks twice. And it will add up. So it really just depends. Obviously, if you're doing a... if you're doing an Aura, one thing you need to keep in mind is obviously if it's speed Aura, you might need to adjust your speeds accordingly. Yeah, you can still use the Aura if you want. You just need to adjust the speeds down. If anything, it might help. Obviously, at 2.5%, it's not a lot, but if you get up to 35%, you're getting 35% more speed from your Aura. If the base champion is 100 speed, you're getting 35% more of 24. So that's what? 24 times 0.35. That's giving you an extra 8 speed per champion based on 100 base speed. So it's not terrible at all, especially for a speed Aura. Obviously, it's a bit awkward if you have to keep re-gearing because you're slowly awakening her. But it's an option. Yeah, if not, Phantom Touch. Basically, the best DPS blessing for clan boss is Phantom Touch, by a mile. There's nothing to compete with it. I tested Crushing Rend. It doesn't benefit an awful lot. I tested... things like why is this? Find Flint. There we go. I tested Crushing Rend. I tested Hero Soul. 3% is not a lot. Phantom Touch just does so much more damage, and the good thing about Phantom Touch is you can scale it. The more attack you put into your build, the more damage it will do. There's no cap to it, whereas other blessings have kind of a cap to it. Like you can only get 3% more damage. It doesn't really add up many more, you know. Alright, we can put the music back up now because Galtrev music is great. What are you? The Karam Umbar Nijo. Okay.
Hail! Have you come to heed the summons to war?
I don't know what you're after. Oh wow, loads of quests here.
The old woman of the mountain says we should not trust the warrior. As long as the sun shines, you are welcome here.
Yeah, I think so. Because you got to look at it and think, what else are they going to get? So they can take Hero Soul for 3% at the high rating. But if not, if you're not perfect, then it's like 0.5%. So Phantom City is probably going to outperform that. If you want Crushing Rend, well, unless you're 6 out of 6, it isn't going to work. None of the DPS, none of the debuff ones are really relevant. So you might as well just take Phantom Touch and get the extra. I know you know, there's no blessing that gives you defense as a damage setup with crit damage. So you're probably better off just taking the attack with more crit damage, in my opinion. There we go. Oh, we'll craft these. Whittling away. Oh, eBay. This is going to take a while. I don't know if I can just, like, queue them all up. There we go. Yeah, if you're changing clan, make sure you don't lose your already done battles. I did. I even have a custom portrait for 15 years. That's how long I've played this game. I don't know how long I've played this character, though. I've played this character for 2 weeks long, believe it or not. And it's only level 69. What is more important, Faction Wars or Great Hall? Faction Wars. Builds are determined by glyphs in the end game. You want to get a 400 speed, you're not doing it through gear, you're doing it through glyphs. Obviously the gear does play a part, but you know what I mean. Like the glyphs is where the difference is made. I would highly recommend you focus on getting good stage 20 farms on Faction Wars because it will like, give you access to powerful glyphs. Yeah, 69 level, hey. There you go, have this. Right, let's jump around some different characters. What's this thing here? Missing nails. All right, okay. But yeah, so I started playing this character when it first came out because this is a high elf. They added a new class, a new race. Oh, I hated PvP. They've ruined it a little bit. It's always like imbalanced to an extreme. But you can see how many characters I've got. Like, I've got 120. That was a paid one. Max nearly. That's 110. My old tank. I don't play that much anymore. A warden. This used to be my main character. If it loads in. There we go. Oh lord. King LSR wants something. I don't know. I haven't logged into this character in a while. As you can probably tell. How long have I played? There you go. I've played this character for nearly 4 months of my life. In real game time. We're actually in Helm's Deep. Pretty cool, right? Let's get her out of battle mode. We're actually in Helm's Deep. There it is. In all her glory. Get to go see King Theoden. Chillin'. Aragorn's over here somewhere. I'm sure he is. Oh, there he is. There's Aragorn. There, me, chilling out. I actually can't remember where I got to. I have so many different characters that I've stopped playing for a while, so I probably need to, like, restart playing some of them again. So I could see where I was. Like, there's, like, loads of little quests I've got going on here. But we can go to, like... let's go to... See you, Steve. Ascolta, Minas Tirith. Minas Tirith was so big, it actually used to crash the game. You used to run into Minas Tirith and there was like a 50-50 chance you were just going to get like completely crashed out. It's pretty rough. The problem is they're dealing with lots of old database issues at the moment. So like obviously all of these achievements and objectives that they've now got in the game have grown to an extent that they never expected them to be this big. So they are having a lot of performance issues. There's Imrahil, important character that isn't in the films. Yeah, it's just Minas Tirith. It looks really cool, right? It's huge as well. Right, you can go all the way up to the top. Where's the horse guy? There we are.
These are troublesome times indeed.
I need to be, I think, the master's tier, right? Yeah. I mean, it's a 2007 game, right? It stands the test of time pretty well, considering. It's a 15, 16 years old. Did I kill the Balrog? Yes. I've killed the Balrog in the Rift, and I also killed the Balrog in Osternoth. Original Osternoth, not the reworked one. I even killed Gortheron with this character, which is like one of the hardest raids in the game at the time when it was done. I don't know what title I'm holding at the moment. Bane of the Nine. I think that's the one I did for... I did the Dol Guldur raid as well. So many of them. Social... I think it's event, is it? I can never remember where it is. It used to be one for like killing all the bosses. The White Tree of Gondor. But like they've done so well in this game to like, you know, manage the grandeur and the scale. Like, you know, this feels like you're in Minas Tirith. It looks so cool. Okay, it's not like Unreal Engine 5 picturesque graphics, but I can literally stand at the top of Minas Tirith and look out beyond the land. It's dark at the moment, but you can see down in the fields of Pelennor. You can look down into all the different levels. You can go to Minas Morgul. It's really cool. Where do I want to go? You want me to jump? Alright. Oh look, you made me get an achievement. Killed me though. There you go. Rivendell. Honestly, the first time I ever came into Rivendell, when I first started playing the game, like, you come down this path up here, because you didn't have quick travel back then, so you had to basically literally go down these S-bend routes here. So you had to, like, go past these S-bends, down this path, and then you'd literally come out of the top here and you'd see Rivendell. Did I ever try the chicken run? I did, but I didn't really. I know of it. I tried it once and I got really frustrated. Uh-oh, we're lagging. When I came down here and you see this, like... If I do... Is it F11? Nope. There we go. We can just chill in the nice Rivendell. Look at that. They do have swift travel now though, but back in the day they didn't have, you had to basically find it first, so you had to ride there. But now you can go everywhere. Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it? You know, as I said, considering this is like a 15, 16-year-old game, the graphics are actually quite good. And I'm not on ultra high. I'm on reasonably high. But you can literally, if you've never played this game, you can start this game, get all the quest packs for free at the moment because the expansion's coming out. And, like, you got hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of gameplay. What the hell is a horse here now? Where does this one go?
Hail, friend, and well met.
Why are all these not found? God knows. They've added a new horse. But like, if you look here, like, you've got all of this to cover. So like you start in either Ered Luin, you can go to your or the Shire. They've got a new two starting points they're adding. You've got basically then you go to Bree, you've got Lone Lands, then you go to North Downs, and then you've got Troll Shores, then you go to Evendim, then Foreshell, then you've got Angmar, then you go to like the Misty Mountains, you've got Eregion, then into Enedwaith, and then you go into like Moria, and like the size of Moria is insane. This is Moria. We can actually go to Moria, I think. Return to Moria. I got return to Moria. I apparently don't. But if I run over here. Yeah, it's easy now. You can buy mithril coins to do it. So if I have to run halfway across Middle Earth, I'll buy the mithril coin. So much easier. Moria was the first expansion they ever did, and it was impressive. I've never seen like a single state of like area built in the way that Moria was built. It's huge. It was so big, actually, people had that realistic feeling that you get in the film where they're in Moria for so long and then they come out and then they get to Lothlorien. You get that in the game because after going through Moria, you feel like, oh, thank God, I see sunlight again. Why have I lost all my stable masters? That's really annoying. Gundabad. Let's go to... Can I go to Moria? Okay, well, we'll go to Lothlorien then. We'll go to the Caras Galadon, which is in Galadriel's territory. We'll go hang out with the actual nice Galadriel, not the one from the Rings of Power. Like, look at this place. Oh, Eladan and Elra here. Sons of Elrond hanging out. Oh, I can. For very good reasons, I can. Somewhere along here's a horse. I'm sure there is, unless they moved it. It's funny how I haven't played this game for so long and I remember where everything is. It's like muscle memory because I used to play it so much.
Greetings to you.
Let's go to Moria. Oh, you want to see some of the horse physics? I'll show you some horse physics. We're in Moria, look at this.
Hail! Have you come to heed the summons to war?
What are you? I don't even know what you are. But you see what I mean? How you get like the darkened feeling. And this place is huge. Like, these are all the different areas you can go to. Zelamenek, the Great Delving, Silvertone Lows, Waterworks. Get to fight a squid. Yeah, massive. We get to go to the Chamber of Marzabul. See dear old Balin. The good thing about this game is they've stuck to the original works, because obviously that's what their license is. So you do get the actual proper written works, not the sort of retellings. Here he is. Here lies Balin. But you have to travel through all of this. It's about 10 levels because it was the second expansion that came out, and you by the end of it you're like sunlight, thank God. And we didn't have like lots of travel points. They added this afterwards because people were just like, we need travel points. Where do I want to go? Back to you. The only issue with the game now, though, is obviously they've finished the storyline. So, like, the ring has been destroyed, Sauron is defeated. So the stories we get now are, like, everything that happens afterwards. Some of it's invented, some of it's created. But actually, you get, like, still decent... you still get a lot of decent stories. But, like, they went through, like, the Black Book of Mordor. You get to go into Mordor and see different things in Mordor. Which, obviously, you don't in the films or anything else like that. But it's cool. You get to see Aragorn get married. That's kind of cool.
Greetings. Will you remain here long?
I haven't been to Gundabad yet. Because that's like content that I was away from. I haven't done that content. I get to go to the village of Dale. I just love this game. I could literally sit here and travel around. We haven't got to like Khand and Rune yet, where they kind of took the story from Mordor up to the north into Erebor. So like we had the whole like strongholds of the north. We went into the Lonely Mountain. And then we went from the Lonely Mountain up into Ered, Mithrin. And we kind of like followed the dwarves, kind of reclaiming their territories, which is where the Wales of Langford have come from, then into Elderslade. And then they've gone into like Gundabad now. If I can find how to get there. So like we're in Mount Gundabad here. So they've started talking about Gundabad and stuff, linking up with different places. And now we're taking the path back down. I don't know where they're going to go after Gundabad. It could be that we go down to Harad and Khand and Rune. There's a whole, like, the Sea of Nirn and Lithlad that we haven't touched. They've only done, like, the Minas Morgul and the Plateau of Gorgoroth. They have done Minas Morgul, which is pretty cool. That was an expansion. So you get to, like, go through all Minas Morgul. Torok and Gel, we went to Mount Doom, Lingaris, Talatharui. But we haven't done down here. We haven't done, like... We have passed Barad-dûr in Talatharui, I think it is. No, which one is it? It's not Argonath. Maybe it is. Eminur, Nerdbrand. I can't remember which one, but we didn't really touch these areas yet. Yeah, Elliot, I'm doing them quite regularly now. We'll probably do another raid one like next Monday. Monday and Thursday at the moment is where I'm at. Whether it changes, we'll be seeing. We'll see. I thought it'd be nice to do a bit of a different one. But we've got like Khand, Harad, Harondor. They're doing, I think, getting closer to Lindon, so we'll probably get Lindon soon. I know that they're adding some new areas here in the expansion next month. Like doing some different starter zones, so that should be quite cool. So there we are, guys. I'm going to leave it there. Why is the water pink? The sunlight. We're in the village Dale. It's great to hang out, talk about Rings of Power, talk about Lord of the Rings, have a bit of a chill session. I will be back probably next week doing some more raid stuff. We'll see where we are on Monday. Maybe I'll get some champions to in the times 10 ancients. We can do some fun. I do need to test Franox. Might do that on stream. or a couple of other things. We'll see. But thanks for hanging out, and I will catch you in the next kind of live stream or the next video.